Before we get started, I wanted to make a disclosure. Nothing is more important than the feel of a game, the gameplay itself. It needs to be fun, reactive, and if in a basketball game, have the right balance between control and realism. The NBA 2K21 gameplay falls short in several areas, but also improves in others over its predecessor. But let me explain in more detail. Since the move to the new motion system in NBA 2K18, the movement has been off. It hasn't felt right overall on the sticks. For 2K20, they made even more changes to the motion system, and not for the better. The change of direction became clunkier than ever, the foot planning got worse, often making the players look like they're ice skating rather than playing basketball. It introduced even more two-man canned animations and animation delays because of heavy animations in general, which include but are not limited to delayed passing, catching, trying to turn a corner, trying to change directions, etc. NBA 2K21 feels similar to NBA 2K20, as we expected. Yes, this game is being released months before the PS5 version, so they had some incentive to add depth, some new features, and mechanics. But the movement is very similar. It has improved, however, in a couple areas. Allow me to explain. But first, I want to make a quick note. I am not a hater, and I am not a fanboy. Hear me out. So, the majority of my collection of videos on my YouTube channel are NBA 2K videos, whether it's gameplay, which is most of it, or it's reviews or demo impressions, etc. So probably 90 to 95% of it is that. I have a collection that includes every PC game of NBA 2K and every game on the consoles from this gen and last gen. I've collected the NBA Live series, every game on this gen and last gen, and some prior. And I have spent a ton of time with both 2K and NBA Live. That 3,258 hours that you see right there on NBA 2K14 only shows online. It doesn't show all the times I was offline on Steam. And there's 2K16 as well, and you'll see 2K17 coming up here, and I've spent way more time than that. So just a heads up, not a hater, not a fanboy, just want a great basketball game, and that's what's most important. Also, please tune into the NLSC podcast, which airs every Sunday, where Andrew and I discuss everything related to basketball gaming. All right, so let's get to it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's start with the positives, the improvements. Less two-man canned animations. This means more control, less being sucked in to other players. One of the biggest problems with NBA 2K20 was the fact that when you were around the hoop, you would miss layups constantly, and it was more a case of being sucked into defenders, whether it be backwards, sideways, forwards. You were basically forced into your defender, causing you a miss and a heavily contested shot. In 2K21, it looks like a focus point was to make the movement around the basket more free, cut down on those two-man animations, and create more basketball plays in the process. If you're watching these highlights here, you're going to see where I have more control, and this isn't just because I'm using the all-time Lakers. And my brother's using the all-time Celtics here. I was also being I was able to move a lot more freely in the paint in general when I was using the Clippers as well. So if you see here, I'm not being dragged sideways, I'm not being dragged backwards into players on the fast break, etc. I'm able to go up strong. I am able to finish on the side that I want. There's not as many forced blocks down there as well. I'm able to adjust my shot in the air and finish the way that I want to, throw up fakes and finish strong on the proper side, etc. So definitely an improvement, less two-man animations. My brother was able to drive there with Pierce and go underneath me, underneath my arm and finish. And you are rewarded for good defense. And you're going to see an example here where I play proper defense with the joystick and make Bird miss. Russell gets the rebound and I get the block from behind. Not because Russell was forced backwards into me, because I timed the block appropriately and got him from behind. That's just good stick defense there with Kareem on McHale. And you're rewarded for the right things in this game, it seems, as far as playing defense. I made a great pass there to Kareem for Magic, and there was a clean strip, and it gave the Celtics a fast break. That's just good stick defense by me, with Kareem causing Mikhail to miss. No two-man animations there. That's just me playing good defense and him getting shut off. There, I was able to switch to Chamberlain in time and get a real block, not a canned block. I was able to cover, and of course, if you're Kobe, you hit that. So, also improved foot planning. Not great, but improved. Yes, there is still some skating, but the foot planning is better, allowing for better movement on the fast break, better stopping and popping on your shots. You're going to feel freer in that regard. Better looking drives and feeling drives to the hoop. And you can see it when they do some of the close-up replays. You can see them actually planting their feet. They're not sliding, and I'll show examples of that in 2K20 later, where you would literally look like you were skating, like you were playing ice hockey. It definitely makes drives feel better, executing in triple threat and whatnot. It still needs some work, and we're going to get into the player movement issues when we go over the negatives. But overall, this is definitely a plus, a huge bonus, because skating has been a major issue with the series, starting in 2K18 when they moved to the new motion system. That's for two, and good. Got the friendly shooting. So better flow, timing mechanics, shot meter, and easier to stop and pop. And also, I just mentioned that because of the foot planning as well. If you're going to see here, I'm going to go over the right stick changes in a second. Yeah, it feels a lot better shooting on the move, in my opinion. The shots flow better. The shots don't feel as rushed to me. And you're going to see, we did get quite a few green releases as well. I got a couple with the joystick, a couple with the shooting button, etc. I like the fact that you can hit some contested shots with the right player, as if you ever watch an NBA game, you'll see guys like, in real life, like CJ McCollum and Devin Booker and stuff. They'll hit shots. They'll hit contested shots in the mid and behind the three-point line. So you should be able to hit those if you release it the proper way. That was just better foot planning in this game with that step back by Pierce right there, and nice flow to the shot. As far as the stick goes in this game for the second quarter, for about half of it, I used stick shooting. And I was able to hit a few shots with Jerry West and Gail Goodrich. And we're going to go over the stick shooting in a second. I'm not a big fan of it. I can do it. But I'll get into how I play, my preferred preference of playing in, a little bit later when we have more time to break down, what I like about this game and in basically my play styles. But as again, you can see, it feels good shooting on the move. The meter makes sense, and etc. So when it comes to the shot stick, this is me using the shot stick. I can hit 5, 7, 9, 10 shots in a row using it. I can get green releases, etc. But I prefer the shoot button. Don't fall for anything that sounds elitist. It doesn't mean you have less skill. Dazar sent out at the end of the day, if you nice on the stick, shooting is nothing you can't figure out and adjust to. If you not, or don't enjoy the challenge, the button is still there for your enjoyment. You want skill-based controls, then maybe it's okay to need more practice time. Don't fall for that. If your preferred style, and he did correct it later, he said he didn't want to come off that way. If you prefer the shoot button, it doesn't mean that you're less of a player. It's just your preferred play style. If you're frustrated with the stick, or you don't think that the mechanics are realistic or work right, definitely use the shoot button. I prefer the shoot button on regular jump shots. Sometimes if I'm in the post or making a move around the hoop, I'll use the joystick, but just don't fall for that. Play the way you want. Size ups are back. You hold the right joystick up. It doesn't matter if you have turbo or not, and your player will execute their size up. And the only problem I have with it is you have to hold it down the whole time and then break out of it, as opposed to just executing it. Running plays is reactive. So this is another bonus. You call your play and they go into motion. and that's good. That's a big improvement over a game like 2K17. Sometimes your player will get caught up on other players, but that does happen in real life as well. So running plays is reactive. Negatives: needs work. Player movement has the same issues as 2K20. Clunky change of direction, speed, acceleration, brakes, and yes, still some skating. So yes, foot planning was listed as a positive, as an improvement, but it's still there. This does not look like an athlete. This does not look like a human running around. His speed is braking constantly. This is a continuous motion, trying to go forward, and he has trouble changing directions. He has trouble braking, picking up speed. He slows down randomly, etc. This is a problem that started with NBA 2K18's motion system after they switched to that. And then when they went to NBA 2K20's changes to the motion system, which is kind of just a piggyback onto the 2K18 one, this somehow got worse. The change of direction got clunkier and whatnot. So again, does this look like an athlete? Is this good movement for a basketball player or for a human being even? No, and it does impact outcomes, it does impact flow, and it can get frustrating at times. So I wanted to break this down. So player movement. Does this make sense? Is this how humans move? I want you to look how ridiculous some of the movement looks in this game. Speed up, slow down, whether you're the computer or your human, speed up, slow down, when it should be just a continuous motion at times. It's really frustrating to watch players switch hands and the way it looks and feels when they're switching hands with the dribble. I demonstrate a little bit of that here with Patrick Beverley, as all I'm trying to do is switch hands with the dribble and change direction, and it looks like a mess. This game at times can look really poor, like on that drive by Giannis where he looks like he loses his mind for a second. Bledsoe loses his mind here, and I just got sick of it, so I just stripped the ball out of bounds. But I want you to watch the way the players move, and they did move better in other versions of the game, especially before the change to the new motion system. And it impacts outcomes, it impacts flow, it impacts being able to catch and go off of a pass, it impacts being able to accelerate past your man realistically, etc. So now we have speed, acceleration, braking constantly, and I just talked about this. I want you to watch Kyle Korver here and tell me if this looks realistic. He is struggling so hard to get to that spot. He was accelerating, his speed broke, and then he went forward. Same with Paul George. My speed breaks, and then I go forward. It makes drives look clunky. It doesn't feel good. It often lets defenders back into the play that shouldn't be back into the play, etc. So speed, acceleration, brakes is something they definitely need to look at for the PS5 version, and I'm really hoping when they say built from the ground up that they address that. Paul George there, that was a decent drive, and this is just bad defense, and you'll realize that blow-bys are pretty easy to execute with the right players, and it's frustrating. Forced to pick up the dribble, or you just drop the ball. This happens constantly in this game. It was happening quite often at any contact with Kyle Korver when I was using Kawhi Leonard, and I would dribble around him and I would just drop the ball. It was the same thing was happening when Chris Middleton was on him. Whether you're turning into the paint, you'll just pick up your dribble or drop the ball. Or if you run into somebody and make slight contact, you'll stumble and pick up the ball. It hurts the face-up game. It hurts the flow, etc. Sometimes it is the user's fault, but oftentimes it's just the game, and it can really get to you. Poor defensive AI. These are legacy issues. These have been going on for a long time. They have the double teaming mechanics where if you score once or twice with a guy, they'll double them, and they'll leave somebody completely wide open under the hoop. You'll see a couple instances of it here. I believe I had only scored once with Paul George there, and then they doubled. And here it is again. They double Paul George, and it just leaves me for a wide open dunk. Then the infamous guard moving out of the way on the fast break for a free dunk. You can do this a lot. I put it in slow motion here. All you got to do is go up the sideline and find your guy. Your guard will just move out of the way. Wes Matthews just moves out of the way and allows me to get a dunk. An immersion killer, and I hope that's fixed for 2K21 on PS5. As always, the CPU is not too bright and tendencies need work. This happened several times when I was playing the computer. Pierce pulling up at the end of the shot clock from near the half-court line. They're just dancing around on the perimeter doing nothing. They don't know what to do. And again, look at this movement by Bob Cousy. Does this look realistic to you? No, it doesn't. That's not the way a player moves. For those who just say mess with the sliders, I do, but the majority of gamers don't. The game needs to be sound mechanically by default. It needs to make a good impression and feel right on the sticks without making major adjustments. Think about other gamers and the way they play. The most common gamer, consumer, just selects a difficulty level and plays. In modes like My Team, My Career, etc., you don't have slider options. So again, it has to be right mechanically by default. Also, sliders can't completely fix the skating issues. Poor foot planning, the dropping the ball constantly, the clunky change of direction, and the speed breaks. So I want you to think about other gamers at the end of the day and make sure that you're thinking of them as well. So more gameplay. This is me versus the computer, and I want to talk about it. This game does have its moments. I enjoyed using the Lakers here overall. I got a block with Chamberlain there. Run a pick and roll with Wilt. Score on the basket and foul. Overpowered the defense. I had to stick with Larry Bird because if he got free, he would fire immediately and put it in my face. I was able to execute Kareem's sky hook. It felt great. It looks great. Felt good with the contact there in the post. Alley-oops from Magic Johnson to James Worthy. Love running with James Worthy on the fast break. So this game does have some fun elements, and I do like the improvements. I did some nice stuff with Kobe. As you notice there, I wasn't forced into a two-man animation and was able to do what I wanted, throw the up fake and finish. Shots on the move feel a little bit better. There's me with Gail Goodrich. I did get it going with Kobe in this game and had some pretty nice highlights. There's a jump shot right there. And here's me with Shaq posting up and passing it out to Bean for three, smoking that. So I was having fun playing basketball in this game. I am trying my best to get past those player movement issues that I mentioned earlier. But this game does have some appeal. And I'm going to go over in a little bit, why the people I recommend this game to spend the $60 or whatever version you get. And I'll tell you who I don't recommend to get this game. There's a nice fast break and Shaq with the monster jam. There again, I have complete control over what I'm doing. I throw the pump fake to create space, and I'm able to finish up over the top of the defense. I get a block with Kareem here. I'm able to run the floor. Feels good running the floor. Finds Kobe wide open for three, and I smoke that. A lot of this is fun basketball. I like the passing overall. I'm not seeing as many passing issues. I'm seeing, us being able to outlet the ball without the ball sailing over our teammate's head. I'm seeing less telegraphed passes and forced turnovers as well. There's a nice feed in the post from Kareem to Shaq. There's the computer intelligence that I'm talking about. They do that type of stuff often. There's a nice jam with Kobe. The computer tendencies with the classic teams, as you know, based on history, they don't do a good job with them. They don't pay extra attention to them. Sometimes they're copy and paste jobs. They're rushed. Their signature shots are often wrong, etc. So those should be good by default, but they'll probably need to be adjusted. There's a nice step back or pull back with Kobe. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, you may enjoy 2K21, and it may be worth picking up for you. This is a alley-oop with 0.2 seconds left on the shot clock that I was able to convert with Kobe. And here's a spin move. Finished strong, even though it was released incorrectly. So the verdict: expect 2K20 graphics with similar gameplay, with added depth, and I should say with some improvements to the gameplay as well. I want to point out that if you're going into this expecting improved graphics, as you can tell, it's basically the exact same graphics as NBA 2K20. And this is usually par for the course with 2K. We expected this. A lot of people said 2K20.5. What you would be getting this game for is more for the gameplay enhancements, the slight improvements, and for the added depth. So I recommend this game if, one, you are on console, because you won't have access to the mods. Two, if you're interested in the added depth to my team, my career, etc. Three, you want the roster update, so you want the most updated rosters and, all the updates that the game will get, months from its release. And if you like the adjustments that I just mentioned to the gameplay and they fix some of the issues that you had for 2K20. If you don't notice a lot of the improvements that I mentioned, then maybe it wouldn't be worth it if you feel that it's too much like NBA 2K20. I don't recommend it if, one, you are on PC and don't think the mods will catch up on 2K21. Two, the gameplay tweaks are not enough for you. You find it very similar, like I just stated, to 2K20. And three, you don't care about the added depth in content, the My Team improvements, the My Team mode additions, the possible college teams in my career, etc. A lot of people on PC may stick with NBA 2K20. I am on PC, but I still I still pre-ordered, NBA 2K21 as I'm a collector and I get it every single year. And I do also like the improvements, like I've mentioned. So I wanted to talk about a video that I made, not enjoying 2K20 at times, finding yourself frustrated, feeling like you used to enjoy some of the past 2Ks more, can't quite put your finger on why. So I wanted to point out that some of the issues in 2K20 have shown there's some improvements in 2K21, but some of it is still there. Some of the stuff that you just saw on that list. This is the skating that I don't see as much on 2K21. In fact, I hardly see any of it at all. The blow-bys, that is still something which I'm doing there with Kemba Walker on Lillard. I did it over and over and over again. This is still overpowering in NBA 2K21, and then the double teams start happening. And you get free layups. Watch Lance Stevenson's movement there. He's just struggling to go around in that circle. So that's the speed acceleration breaks. Those, again, are still in NBA 2K21. Watch Arenas drive here, and his acceleration breaks for no reason, and then he picks up speed again. And so and Lillard just trying mightily to get up the floor and struggling. So just to let you know, some of those issues still are in 2K21. Better movement is the old motion system, in my opinion, that was used in 2K15, 2K14, 2K15, 2K16, and 2K17. So I provide some examples of the flow in the feel using those motion systems. So here's me with Lillard, and accelerating off the crossover and just pulling up feels smooth. There's no speed break. There's no acceleration or speed breaks dribbling up the floor. Executing my dribble feels clean, etc. NBA 2K16, smooth flow on the fast break, players moving at the right speed, not breaking, etc. 2K17, here's me with Kemba Walker. Again, watch the drive. I cross over, and there's no speed breaking, there's no awkward dribbling, no weird animations. It looks right. Do those games have issues with skating at times? Of course, but to the level of 2K18 through 2K20? No, absolutely not. And 2K21 improved a little bit. So again, if you were frustrated with NBA 2K20 and find yourself, wondering why you had more fun with past titles, then, those are probably some of the reasons why. Sorry, that graphic went by a little bit fast. You could pause the video. So I added this. So wait, even 2K6 felt better on the sticks at times? Unbelievably, it did. So here's me playing 2K6, and here's me with Jason Richardson. Again, the big thing is yes, is that acceleration a little bit unrealistic? Sure. but the feel was right. The feel of continued pace, acceleration, the speed not breaking. It just felt better. Mike James with a clean dribble up the floor here for the layup, not like Lillard in the clip of 2K20 that I showed, where he was bumbling and stumbling up the court and struggling mightily to even dribble up the court. A lot of these player movement issues started with NBA 2K18 when they moved to the new motion system. You'll see some of it here with Kyrie. This is some gameplay video I put out when NBA 2K18 was first released. You can see some of the movement that's still in the game. It just looks awkward overall, even though that was a nice dunk by Paul George. So what do I expect with PS5 NBA 2K21? And what do I believe gamers want? What I expect improved visuals, same or similar depth to PS4 2K21, different movement dribble mechanics, like Mike Wang stated, it will be built from the ground up. Crossing my fingers on that one that's true. Growing pains, which I'll explain, and faster loading times. Growing pains meaning, you know what? It's going to have its issues. It's going to have its bugs. Player movement might not be completely sharp. As we know, when they move to 2K18, there's probably going to be some new issues created that will turn into legacy issues. What I want improved player movement, better foot planning, still needs improvement, better change of direction mechanics, dribbling that makes sense, less two-man canned animations, which they did improve on that a bit, again, with NBA 2K21. The game to have the right balance of fun and realism, which used to be 2K's bread and butter, and legacy issues mostly removed. Mike Wang did say that he wanted a better balance of fun and realism in the developer blog, so I'm going to hold him to that, and I'm really hoping that that's the case. So with us moving on to NBA 2K1 for PS5, I wanted to show gameplay, and I think a lot of people will like this because NBA 2K14 is still a favorite of many. I wanted to show gameplay of NBA 2K14 for Xbox One, and this is going to be a game with me using the Lakers versus my brother in the Warriors. And, when I talk about PS5 and NBA 2K21, I want them to come out strong gameplay-wise like they did here. I want you to pay attention to how the players move up and down the floor, how the drives look to the hoop, how fast breaks look, how post work looks, how dribbling looks, how movement in general looks. I want you to take a look at what they were able to accomplish with the first release on PS4. I also want to point out that this game had very poor depth. If you remember correctly, a very limited number of saves. You can only have one custom roster. It didn't have, the customization in my league. You could only use one team in my league instead of multiple teams, etc. So, just a reminder that this game was still loved so much, and it was because of the on-court action. I just wanted to show that so you could see the graphics and how beautiful this game really looked. And I wanted to go back to stick shooting really quick. So when you think about your play style and you think about enjoying the game and what you're going to do best to create memories with the game and have fun and limit frustrations, by all means, if the shot stick isn't good for you, if the shot stick is frustrating to you, or you think that the mechanic doesn't make sense in a real basketball sense, well, don't use it. Use the shoot button. Every gamer is different. Every gamer has different preferences. It doesn't mean that you're not a skilled gamer. It doesn't mean that you couldn't beat somebody who uses the stick regularly. And I say the same things about things like camera views. There's some parts of the community, as you see we're playing on broadcast here, that live by the 2K camera, and at times people get snobby about that. And they'll say, 2K is the only way to play. Just because you play on the broadcast camera, the way we've watched basketball all of our lives and created all of our memories watching the games, just because you do that doesn't mean that you're any less skilled of a player. You have different preferences as far as the way you play the game and the way you view the game, and it doesn't mean that you have any less skill than somebody who uses 2K camera. So I just want to make a point to say, play how you want, play the way you're going to create the most memories and have the most fun and limit your frustration. So I did just want to get that out there as well. But if you can see, this gameplay just overall flows. The dribbling felt clean. This game didn't even have size ups. You couldn't even drop step dunk in this game, and it was still loved by so many. And it wasn't just the visual appeal. People were putting up YouTube videos constantly on it. They were promoting it, and they were having so much fun with the gameplay. My brother and I had a blast here. That's me with Kobe. Just a completely clean move there into my fadeaway. People just loved the game. And that's why I say there's nothing more important than between the lines gameplay. Nothing is more important than how the game feels on the sticks. And where Live has struggled so much over the last decade plus, especially since Live 06, is the game did not feel good overall on the sticks. There was input lag. There were issues with canned animations. The movement was herky-jerky. It wasn't even the depth that killed the NBA Live series. It was overall the gameplay. And I do hope that NBA Live comes back and makes some noise at some point. They canceled again this year. Maybe they'll come back next year. I do think that they'll come back on this gen. On this gen. But if they don't make gameplay the #1 priority and add basic depth that should be in any sports game in whatever year they end up coming out with, 2021, 2022, etc., then they're going to fall flat on their face, and people are going to be turned off, and they're not going to want to buy the game. So that's my feeling on it, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that as well in the comments if you watch this whole video. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let you watch the rest of the highlights, and then I'm going to recap at the end.
That's good. Bogut dishes to Lee. And Thompson kicks to Iguodala. Some nice passing by Golden State here. Back to Thompson. Jacks up a three, and that one's good.
They didn't get a chance.
And here's Kobe for three. Andre Iguodala comes up with the rebound. Iguodala's got 3 rebounds now in this one.
They just continue.
Lee, left side. Rebound the Lakers. Gasol's got 3 rebounds so far in the game. Bryant right through the D for the layup.
Fellas, just stay with me. I need all-out effort here, and we can bring it home. Fellas?
Thompson for the triple. Knocks down the 3. Can't get it to go.
I wonder if switching baskets really threw him off. Because he can't get anything to fall this hat.
Nails it. Oh, and that cuts the lead to just 5.
So again, get 2K21 if you want slight improvements to the gameplay that I mentioned. If you want the roster update, if the My Team enhancement, My Career enhancement suits you, if the game is going to suit your play style and you want those updates and you're on console especially, I do recommend picking up the game because it just has loads of depth. It will have the roster update and it does have some improvements. If you think it's too much like 2K20 based on the gameplay, based on the demo, etc., and you don't care about that roster update or the added content, then I would pass if I were you, and I would wait for the PS5 version of NBA 2K21. If you have any questions for me, definitely leave them in the comments on YouTube, and I would love feedback on this video. So talk to you later and good luck.